the last human scientist who unlocked impossible technology. Chapter 1. The Empty Facility. Dr. Aisha Khan woke up to the sound of nothing. No hum of ventilation. No distant chatter of colleagues in the hallway. No footsteps. Just the low, electric silence of Helix Station, a research facility buried 300 meters beneath the Karakoram Mountains, built to survive anything the world could throw at it. She sat up on the cot in her office, rubbing her eyes, and checked the wall clock. It read 4:12 a.m. She had fallen asleep at her desk again, buried under equations that refused to resolve. She walked into the corridor. The lights flickered on automatically, one section at a time, tracing her path like a nervous shadow. She called out, "Hello, Dr. Farooq? Priya? Anyone?" Nothing answered. It took her 11 minutes to reach the command center, and another 20 to understand what the monitors were telling her. The world above had gone quiet, not destroyed, not burned, simply emptied. Every satellite feed showed streets without people. Every comms channel returned static or silence. The last recorded message, time-stamped 6 days earlier, was a single garbled sentence from the Global Research Council. The extraction event is not localized. Repeat, not local. And then nothing. Aisha sat down slowly in the command chair, her hands trembling. She was 34 years old, a theoretical physicist who had spent the last decade chasing a single, career-defining idea, the Lindqvist field, a theoretical framework suggesting that reality itself might have seams, places where the laws of physics could be renegotiated rather than obeyed. Her colleagues had called it beautiful madness. Now, it seemed, she was the only person left alive to pursue it. Chapter 2. Alone with the machines. Days folded into weeks. Aisha rationed the facility's food stores, cycled through backup power systems, and slowly came to accept a truth too enormous to say out loud. Humanity, or at least everyone she could reach, was gone. Whether they had died, vanished, or been taken by whatever the Council's last message had hinted at, she didn't know. The silence outside never broke. Grief came in waves, sharp and drowning, then dull and distant. She wept in the server room where her friend Priya used to hum old film songs while running simulations. She screamed once, in the empty cafeteria, just to hear a human voice, even her own. But grief, she discovered, could also sharpen into purpose. If she was truly the last, then the work she did next would be the last work humanity ever produced. And so, instead of waiting to die in a silent bunker, Dr. Aisha Khan decided to finish what she started. She returned to the Lindqvist field. The facility's quantum core, a machine the size of a small house, built for a 100-person research team, now hers alone to command, flickered to life under her hands. She spent 18-hour days recalibrating superconducting coils, rewriting control algorithms, and arguing with an AI assistant named Oren that had been designed to assist 5 departments and now assisted only her. Running simulation 4471, Oren said one evening, its voice calm and synthetic. Probability of field stability, 3.2%. Run it anyway, Aisha said, exhausted, her eyes bloodshot from weeks without proper sleep. We don't need probability. We need proof. Chapter 3. The First Crack in Reality. It happened on the 209th day of her isolation. Aisha had reconfigured the core to fire not 1, but 17 synchronized pulses, a technique she called resonant folding, the rise to bend a localized patch of spacetime just enough to reveal what she called a seam, a place where 2 different configurations of physical law touched. The chamber lights dimmed as the core drew power. A low vibration rattled the floor, climbing steadily into her bones. Oren's voice cut through the tension. Field variance exceeding safety parameters. Recommend abort. No, Aisha whispered, watching the readout spike and twist in patterns she had only ever seen in her dreams. Hold it. Hold it just a little longer. And then, in the center of the containment chamber, the air itself tore. It wasn't an explosion. It wasn't fire or light in the way she expected. It was more like watching a photograph peel apart at the corner, revealing another photograph underneath, except the photograph underneath was impossible. Colors that had no names. Geometry that curved in ways her mind refused to process without pain. For 3 full seconds, Aisha Khan looked through a seam in reality itself. Then the core overloaded, and the chamber went dark. She lay on the floor afterward, nose bleeding, ears ringing, laughing and crying at the same time. Oren, she gasped. Did you record that? Confirmed, Oren said. Dr. Khan, you did the impossible. Chapter 4. The Gift from the Seam. It took her 3 more months to safely reopen the seam, this time for barely half a second, and with proper shielding. In that half second, something crossed over. It appeared on the chamber floor, a small, dark ladder structure, no larger than a fist, humming with an energy signature that matched nothing in any database on Earth. Oren's sensors struggled to categorize it, returning only fragments, non-baryonic interference, energy output exceeding input by factor of 400. Structural information density beyond current modeling capacity. Aisha called it the seed. She spent the next year, alone, but no longer lonely, driven by something greater than grief, studying it. She built tools to interface with it. She wrote a language of mathematics no human had ever needed before, because the seed did not obey conservation of energy the way her physics textbooks insisted it should. It generated more than it consumed. It repaired damaged machinery it was placed near. It began, impossibly, to grow. Within 18 months, the small ladders had extended filaments through the facility's power grid, and Helix Station, once dependent on dwindling reserves, became entirely self-sustaining. Lights that should have failed kept burning. Water reclamation systems that should have degraded ran with pristine efficiency. It was as though the seed was healing the facility from the inside, learning its structure, adapting to keep its last inhabitant alive. It's not just technology, Aisha said one night, staring at the pulsing lattice through the observation glass. Oren, I think it's alive. Or it wants something to be. Chapter 5. The Question of Return. A year later, the seams grew stable enough to open larger, longer, and with intention. Aisha no longer thought of her work as a scientific curiosity. She thought of it as a door. If a seam could pull something through, could it also pull something back? She worked with a desperation that had transformed, slowly, into hope. She trained Oren to model seam behavior with data harvested from the seed itself, effectively asking one impossible artifact to help her build a larger one. Months of failed attempts followed, chambers cracked, systems fried, and twice Aisha herself was hospitalized in her own infirmary from radiation exposure she treated with her own trembling hands. But on the 703rd day since the silence began, the seam opened wide enough, and stable enough, for her to step through it herself, tethered by a cable of her own design, wearing a suit stitched together from spare parts and desperate hope. What she found on the other side was not another world exactly. It was a threshold, a place between configurations of reality, vast and quiet, filled with countless seams-like doors along an endless corridor. Some flickered with light. Some hummed with sound. And in the far distance, faint as a heartbeat, she thought she heard voices. Human voices. Chapter 6. Epilogue, the last, and the first. Whether Aisha Khan found her missing world, or built a new door to a new one, or simply proved that even alone, even shattered by loss, a single mind driven by curiosity and love could unlock what an entire civilization had never dared to imagine, that story continues beyond what is written here. What is known, recorded faithfully by Oren in logs meant for whoever, whatever, might find them one day, is this. Dr. Aisha Khan, the last human scientist of Helix Station, did not simply survive the end of her world. She refused to let it be an ending. In her solitude, she rewrote the rules of what was possible, and in doing so, opened a door that silence itself could not close. If you are reading this, know that she went through it smiling, not because she was fearless, but because she had decided, long ago, that even the last light in the universe was worth carrying forward. The end.